with all this knowledge that you've given us. And what do you have for us today? And tell us what's going on with you today, too.
All right. Number one, we've been having a lot of discussion in Detroit and around the country on the United Nations. I'm getting emails that they're coming in the city. They'll be here on the 17th, 18th, and 19th of October. They'll be here. Now, there are several meetings being held prior to, and I can't give you all of those meetings, but I can tell you that there's one this Friday at it's at the Water Board Planning meeting. Let me see, where is it at located? It's located at the Greater Detroit Agency for the Blind and Visually Impaired. That's on Grand River, 16625 Grand River at Grand Mount. And they're having a meeting from 5:30 to 7 o'clock p.m. And they are going to discuss, I'm reading it as I speak to you, they're going to discuss the complaints. They want people to put in complaints on everything that's been happening in regards to the water shutoff.
Okay.
And as you know, a lot has been going on about the water shutoff, up to and including neighborhood children's services are coming in homes, taking the children away from the parents because they declaring the homes unfit to live because the water shut off. We're having major problems in that respect. So they're going to talk about it. The seniors are having problems getting around in regards to the water. They got to go out and find these water shacks that they have set around the city to pick up their water. So transportation is a problem. So everything is kind of up in arms right now, and it's coming to a head because the city is still moving forward with a few shutoffs. So I'm going to make the one on Friday and see what's happening, and then I'm going to be at the meeting when they show up. Now, one more thing. If you're in the Detroit area, you can go online, and they have, you can Google United Nations complaint forms. You need to get those complaint forms filled out. So if you're going to go to one of the meetings or going to one of the places that are having the meeting, you want to turn your complaints in prior to them showing up. Okay? That's very important. Now, number two, the killing we had back in 2011, I believe that date was 2011, when the Ayanna Jones young lady was murdered by the police department, who was filming the 48-hour TV series, or attempting to film it. I'm not sure. But the bottom line is they were found that there were not enough charges to proceed forward, previous hung jury trial. So I believe that this guy, Sergeant Weekly, who shot the young baby in the head, is going to go free on this charge of murder, quote-unquote, accidental murder, whatever you want to call it. They're not going to go forward with the trial. So he's completely exonerated, that'd be a good word, on his conduct. Now, the city is arguing and screaming about it. I'm not too upset about it. Like I've said to you, Bev, if we don't move into a new arena of freedom, we're going to forever witness this type of activity coming from the power structure. And I'm not calling it white power structure. I'm calling it the power structure because there were black police officers on hand that night. And believe it or not, the so-called star of the 48 hours was a black sheriff. He was a sheriff of the sheriff department who was conducting the Hollywood performance. So we got a major problem, and it's above and beyond the color line. Okay. Now, tonight we're going to deal with nationality, and nationality is playing a tremendous role in everything that's happening across the country today. You know me, Beverly, I love to connect the dotted lines as to what's going down the pipe. Birthright and nationality is our biggest downfall. If we could only get our quote-unquote civil rights all-stars, Negro pundits, a bootleg organization, and the AKA Alpha Delta female fraternity orders, if we could get them to focus on a higher plane, we may be able to cut through a lot of this devilment that's going on across the country today, such as murder and all of the false arrests across the country due to traffic violations. All of those things are earmarked to the slaves. And I want to make sure you hear me when I say that. Slaves. We have house Negroes and we have field Negroes. Both of them are slaves. The privileges and benefits for the house Negro would go in the area of the boule, the AKA, the Negro pundits, all of those jive-time niggas that you see on TV that are saying certain things that keep the CEOs happy. Those are our worst enemies. And as long as we keep putting up with their trash and garbage, we'll always be in this position. Now, this type of mentality started way back in the turn of the 19th century, when the National Association of Colored People, so-called NAACP, was founded by two Europeans, Jews, the Spengard brothers. And ever since that 1904, 5, 6, and 7, when they were formulating that particular organization, and we got these Negroes, I don't want to keep using that ugly word nigger, but these Negroes we have today, such as this jackleg preacher in Detroit, swindling Wendell Anthony, who has one of those mega churches, and he's a political pundit. He's a Negro pundit, and at the same time, he preaches every Sunday from the pulpit, and he's the president of NAACP. Them type of niggas has got to go. And I'm saying it with force because as long as they keep running their mouth, pleasing the power structure, that's the blanket that protects them, the Europeans, from us, the field Negroes. And they are sitting in those positions. They got nerve to get in the streets. They got nerve to act like they're trying to save black humanity and all. And the name of the game is to keep them in a Negro mentality. And as long as we're in that, I guarantee you we will never, ever move forward.
And those are the people that they keep in the media, too.
Yes, it is. And they have a microphone. They love to put them in the mic. And they're on these black radio stations. You know, you have to look at these stations and ask yourself a question. For example, let's look at Jet Magazine. My wife, I can't stop her from subscribing to that Jet Magazine. But now that they have cut the print down where she has to get a magnifying glass to read the damn thing, she's beginning to say she's going to stop it. And I look at her with a smile on my face. I told you to stop it before. But now what does Jet Magazine have to do with nationality and birthright? It's one of the keys to maintaining it, nationality and birthright, away from us. Why? You've never seen a magazine so full of subscriptions, owned and controlled by white CEOs. You never think about that. The Ebony magazine is another one. There was another black magazine. I'm looking at it and can't call the name right now, but it had all these humongous Fortune 500 companies that are advertising in those magazines. How is that possible? They've already said that you don't need to advertise with black folks because black folks going to buy Tide. I don't give a damn what's on sale. They're going to buy a Remy Martin. I don't care if you give away VO. They always go for the big names of everything. So some of those smart Europeans will say, why waste your money advertising in black communities when they're going to buy white anyway? But here are two magazines, highly successful. And then they have the nerve to say they had to cut down on the print because sales were down. How can that be, Beverly? Jet magazine has been in ever since the black newspapers went out. The Europeans saw how profitable it was for them to keep those black papers printing as long as it served their purpose. All of our so-called Negro leaders make their decisions based on what the CEO would do if he was in their place. And we have a problem with that. Now, it's no coincidence that out of all the people on earth, I think the number at one time was 3 billion or whatever. I don't want to go there. But out of the number of people on earth, every group has a nationality which is connected to a country. I want you blackies that listen today to get this clear. Every one of them have land attached to their nationality. If you're Spanish, you're Spain. If you're French, you're France. If you're Soviet Union, you're Russian. If you're Chinese, you're China. There's no such thing as Negro to Blackie. There's no such thing as Afro-American. Can't you see that? Why do we keep letting them call us all of these names? I might as well call you a nigger. Why you get mad when they use the word nigger? It's a label. It's something that they use to identify you with. And at one time, you recognized it. It only took certain dilemmas, such as the Civil Rights Movement and different race riots, quote unquote, resurrections around the country to make them stop calling you openly a nigger. But you sit back now and let them call you Negro, colored, black, Afro-American, all of those names that they create. Can't you see that you're nothing more than a piece of trash? And then you scream when this Peckerwood shoots a 7-year-old girl in the face because they're making a movie, and they lie and say that Granny, who was, and they use, let me back up, they use SWAT tactics to break into the house. They stood outside for 3 hours setting up the cameras, and then they turned around, they threw a hand grenade through the window, rammed the front door, and shot the shotgun all in the same second. It was all,
and it wasn't no DNA of the grandmother of Prince on the gun, and it wasn't no DNA of the Prince of the police officer either on the gun. So how did she handle the gun?
Well, if you recall, they attempted to fix the autopsy to make it look like Granny had shot the shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't know that Figer, the so I don't even know what you want to call him, but the prominent so-called European lawyer who only picks cases that he can win and not rock. Hear me clear, not rock the European structure. He only picks those cases, and he only takes cases where the people that's going to receive the benefits, let me use the word ignorant in a very pleasant way, knowing that If $1 million is given to this family, it'll be gone in a month, 2 months, 6 months. And they know that Kmart and Walmart and Sam's Club going to get all of that money right back.
And Ford and GM.
And I forgot about them. They got to get them Cadillacs. So
yeah.
Yeah. And then we, a guy called me today. He was so upset that people wouldn't understand why he was mad because they let that police officer go. And I asked him the same thing. Why are you upset? You come to class, I tell you that you're not human. You're not treated. You're not a part of the United States citizenship. Now, either if you want to be a 14th Amendment citizen, that's what the NAACP is trying to push you in. They don't ever use 14th Amendment until they have to go to court and they bring up civil rights. But they try and push you and say you are a citizen of the United States. And then when you question them, how is that possible? Because there are several Supreme Court rulings that say clearly, not only are you not, you will never become a citizen of the United States. Why is that so hard to believe? I told you, Bev, to look up the 13th Amendment. So what they do when they print the 13th Amendment, they pick 2 of the 20 sections that are most valuable to them and leave out 18 sections that gives you the complete story of the 13th Amendment. So they pick out number 1, slavery, no more slavery in America. Everybody say, yeah, we ain't no slaves no more. Then they pick out what they call number 2 and said there will be no involuntary servitude. Okay? If you knew what involuntary servitude was, you would be screaming from the top of your lungs every time you're stopped by the police, every time you get a ticket by the police, every time you get called downtown for garnishment. They are putting a tax, a unwanted tax on you. But then you'll get those Negro pundits come out and say, well, if you didn't want it, why did you buy it? Why did you tell them you wanted to purchase it? Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. Since we're talking about nationalities, you don't have any idea who you are. So let's talk about that. So they say, why do you buy it? Why would you buy a refrigerator and then turn around, not make payments, and then get mad when they come and take it? There's only one answer to that. You paid for it when you signed for it. How's that possible, Ron? There's no money. United States filed bankruptcy in 1933. They declared themselves broke. The country can only live and operate on debt. They sell you debt. You look at the greenback dollar bill as being a positive note in your pocket. But what you don't realize, because you don't read, that a note is a debt. You got a car note, a debt. You have a house note, a debt. You have an insurance note, which is in the policy, in the premium, a debt. So why would you think a Federal Reserve note is not a debt? It was only set up to keep track of the debt, the national debt across the country. But when people were so dumb and stupid, thinking it was real money, they said, well, the hell with them. We'll just keep turning out this greenback dollar bill, and we'll charge them 94 cents on the dollar. Did you hear me, Beth?
They charging us 94 cents
on the dollar
to use that
they don't
note.
Care what. Yes, because it only costs 6 cents to make the note. But you use it as a dollar bill, so there's 96 cents that don't exist. Now, they don't care if the note is denomination is $1, $5, $10, $20, $100. It don't matter. Each one of those dollars, singles, and I don't mean singles like one, I mean singles like 5, 10, 20, 50, whatever it is, it only costs 96 cents to make it. So now here we go through. If they, it's a game. If you spend $5, you gave the government $4.94. Same thing with $10. You gave them $9.94. You get it?
Right.
So now they say these Negro pundits, they put that in you because they pump it in you in school to tell you that, oh, you got to pay your debts. Then they throw Jesus and the Bible at that you're not going to heaven if you don't pay your debts because Jesus paid his, all that trash that they put out.
Well, how come that the United States, you hear them saying we are $1 trillion in debt, and if we are paying 96 cents for every dollar that we use, how are they still in debt?
Because they're not. All you have to do, the next person that says to you, we are X number of dollars in debt, just be calm, don't get excited, and just ask the question, who do we owe? That's the only question
they want you to think that we owe the banksters in England. Isn't that who the debt is to?
All right, let's explore that. I love you for running that. Here's the deal. They tell you that the banksters in England and international, you owe them. Okay? So you should ask why. I never borrowed from them. What are you talking about? So they're going to try and hook up that refrigerator to the fact that you didn't pay it off, so now you owe and you got to pay them. So here's the answer to all of that. It's a very simple answer. That is this. Anytime you create the debt or the monies or the currency, let's use that word, currency, to purchase an item, you cannot get the item unless you sign your signature. So if you sign your signature, it makes you the creditor, not the debtor, because you created it by signing your name. The debtor didn't sign a damn thing. Why would you owe, I can't think of something fast enough, Fred's appliance for the refrigerator when you paid for it when you signed your name? Because he's going to take that promissory note and cash it, Beverly. He's going to take the promissory note, stamp it the way I've been teaching in my classes, put it in his account, and his account will raise whatever the amount of the refrigerator was. So let's say $500. When you close and they're going to put it on the truck to bring to your house, they say sign here. Once you sign, they take it to the bank within 24 hours, deposit it. Their account rises $500.
Right.
Then they turn around and tell you got to make payments. So they're going to get double pay. And then if you refuse to make payments, they're going to come and get the refrigerator. They don't normally do that with a refrigerator, but they could come and get the refrigerator or garnish your check. Now, you tell me what's going on. The only way they get away with it is because you're ignorant to what they're doing. And you never was taught enough finance as to how to stop them from doing what they do. Now, if you want to do it on a low-key level, remember this. Anytime you sign your name, always reserve your rights. And if you do that, you're going to find that they're going to come after you and say, Beverly D., you bought this refrigerator. What is this stuff here you put behind it? I'm reserving my rights. Oh, well, you don't have to do that, Bev. Why would you do that? We can't do our process without that. You're right. You can't get it if Beverly reserved her rights. And that makes them angry because the lower echelon, hear me clear, they have no idea what I'm talking about. It's the CFO way at the top. So it's going to take, if you sign it and reserve your rights, it's going to take at least, let's say 6 weeks, 3 to 6 weeks, before that check goes through all the process, and then it gets to that CFO, and it kicks out. They say, oh, where did this come from? So they get on the phone, they call back down, they say, Ron, did you sell this to Beverly D? Yes. You got to get her back in there and get this garbage off because we can't have this on this this promissory note. So here he comes calling you with some kind of lie, and if you don't know what he's talking about, you're gonna say, "Oh yeah, I'll be in tomorrow." Oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. So you go back in, and sign it. You say, "Okay, hold it right there. Don't put that on there." You don't put it on there, everybody's happy.
Now, go ahead.
If you say to him, number one, I'm not coming in, and number two, kiss it where the sun don't shine, and number three, don't call me no more, and hang up. That's what you should have told him.
Now someone is saying here that when you sign the promissory note, you creating the money, and then also they saying that behind your name you put without prejudice.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm.
Okay.
Whoever that is, they're totally correct.
Okay.
And then if you do it with that concept, they cannot cheat you by making you pay 2 or 3 times for the item and then come and get the item if you don't make payments. He's right. Or whoever did that, they're totally correct. And that's what I'm saying. All you have to do is reserve your rights. And if you look up, I tell you what to do before you start, because I know a lot of y'all are kind of chicken when it comes to attacking them Europeans. Y'all scared of them. I love them. Damn Peckerwoods, I love them. So what you do, you go and look up UCC 1-207 or UCC 1-308. Just look it up and read it. And notice it says you have a right to reserve your signature anytime you use it. But they're going to tell you you can't do that. See, we've been getting away with it in Detroit. When we go get our license renewed, we always put on the license UCC 1-207. And all of a sudden, when they caught it, they said, "Oh, stop. In that Detroit area. It's only coming out of Detroit. Get people on that counter. I want to make sure they don't put that on there." Why? Because if you put it on, they can't come after you for speeding, for any traffic violation, because you're only reserving your rights to get the permission to drive your vehicle or travel in your vehicle. That's all you signed for. But anytime you don't reserve your rights, whatever's on the books that you have no idea what's on the books, you're responsible for, because you signed up and saying that I love whoever sold me this refrigerator. I don't care what they got on the books. I got the refrigerator. I'm trying to make payments. I'm happy as a sissy in a CC.
Okay. So when we go sign the forms for to get our license, and so once you sign it, if you put behind your name without prejudice or to reserve my rights, they're going to have a problem with it.
Oh, big time. Now, because I know you, if you go out in Sterling or Madison Heights, you can get away with it. But then when they see it, they got to figure out a way to get you to come back, but not let you know why you coming back. And I'm saying it because you are an adult and you don't look like the rough house. Everywhere I go, they check it. Got a beard, talk back to them, stuff like that. Look them in the face. You know, Europeans hate to be looked at directly. And if they give you any problem, here's the first thing you should do. Bring your supervisor out here. That's what you do. Tell them to bring the supervisor. Get the supervisor's name. Ask the supervisor what law are they using to tell you you cannot reserve your rights. They got cases all the way to the Supreme Court that states clearly, anytime you sign, it's your name. Why can't you reserve your rights? I tell you what, go in the kitchen and take your cornflakes, a can of beans, or whatever you got in your cabinet, your cupboard. Take it out, spin it around. See what it says on there. A Procter & Gamble, reserve my rights without prejudice. All rights reserved. All of that stuff's on there. They do it, so why can't you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? But
right.
See, we don't read. We don't know that. We don't have a nationality to understand that. See, all these things are taught. Once you get your nationality, you need to know all of these things in addition to your birthright. All of that is a part of you as a more sovereign, whoever you are.
Okay.
All of the other people know this, but now they don't have to practice it because the system is set up to give them privileges and benefits. So they don't even have to worry about reserving their rights. And a lot of them don't even know about it. So that ain't your problem. Don't worry about it. You want to be free. They are satisfied at being a 14th Amendment citizen. So if you're satisfied, stop trying to be sovereign.
Now getting back to the nationality, what is wrong with people using African American? Because they are claiming two countries or continents.
Yep. Have you ever heard a Frenchman call himself, I got to say it right, European French,
Mm-mm.
or European German? No. Why? Because you have to have a country, not a continent. When you say African American, you have confused the whole definition of nationality. Number one, Africa is a continent with over 50 nationalities. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Number one. Number two, if you are an American, okay, what kind of American? You said Afro or African, so you can't be that. So now you got to think what kind of American you are, and I'm going to ask, are you talking about North America, South America, or Central America? People that live in Central America, for example, they don't call themselves Central American Guatemalan or whatever's down there. South America, they don't call themselves Argentine, South American Argentine, American Argentine. So why are you going to sit up here and call yourself? That ain't even in the same concept. Because they don't use a continent. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Europe is a continent, 7 continents. I can't name them all, but you know what I'm talking about. India, Europe, Africa, North America continent. All 3 of these are continents hooked up. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot be. There's no such thing. United Nations is set up for the unity of nations, not idiots that don't know who they are. There's no seat in the United Nations for Afro-American. It don't exist. So if you're saying United Nations, you better figure out who you are before you start trying to go.
Okay, so as you go into the United Nations, just say that I'm going to them, I have to tell them that I am an indigenous, OMAC, indigenous, or something like that.
Yes, you got to tell them who you are before you get in. But here's a hookup with you.
Mm-hmm.
You want to tell them that you are indigenous.
Okay.
See, there is a category in the United Nations. That's why every 4 to 6 years they have what they call Indigenous Declaration of Indigenous conventions. All of these people that are in, I don't know how many nations it is, but all of those nations that are there, they know that they are on borrowed land. There are indigenous people who live in Europe. There are indigenous people who live in Africa. There are indigenous people who live in Americas. They're all over. And they don't belong to the bullcrap governments that you think they belong to. And they are respected by the earth everywhere you find them. If you think back when Daddy Bush had that damn Desert Storm, and they were fighting around Kuwait, they had to stop for 7 days because a tribe of I want to call them nomads, but now they call them Bedouins. Those are indigenous Arabs, so-called Arabs. They're Bedouins. They call them Bedouins. They were traveling on their annual retreat, headed for the coast of Kuwait, where there's a huge oasis. And they got their camels and their donkeys and whatever, and here they come. Boom. United Nations told Iraq and United Nations, back off. Let them in, let them do their thing, and let them out. And then go back to fighting. That's what they did. When you look on the highway, Bev, and you see a sign that says deer crossing, have you ever thought about that? Deers, animals, are indigenous. The deers have been traveling that path for hundreds, thousands of years. They never change. That's what indigenous people do. They travel from one area to another area. That's it. So they have to put signs up to say deer crossing. They're trying to stop them. They put fence and stuff up, trying to stop them. When they put that big pipeline across Alaska, they had a big argument about the pipeline. They had an area where those elk traveled. They made them raise that pipeline up so them elk could get through. That's indigenous. That's indigenousness. People are the same way. We have traveled. That's why when you look at our history, our story, we traveled all over. We didn't stay in one area and live and this, that, and other. Coming out of the so-called, let's call it Reconstruction. I ain't going to call it slavery. Reconstruction. We traveled from place to place. Even if you read Dred Scott, he was traveling out of Mississippi area up into St. Louis, Illinois area. Everybody did it. European didn't know nothing about this. Okay? We have always had a culture. European has made fun of our culture, so now we don't know who we are, so we try to mimic what they either put on TV, put in magazines, or something that we see, we want to be like them. That's unbelievable. But it works. I'm not saying unbelievable that it don't work. So they have taken us far away from our nationality. And let me just read to you what they said about our nationality. On September 5th, 1774, the Moors were a divided and defeated nation here in North America. On that date, the 13 European colonies or nations met in Philadelphia in a building known as Carpenter's Hall. It was a Masonic convention. Masonic is defined as pertaining to or characteristic of Freemasons or Freemasonry, secret order with secret passwords, handshakes, and secret ceremonies, with meetings only known to the members and secret signals. The meeting or convention was originally called Odd Fellows Convention, ODD, Odd Fellows Convention. The popularity name of this convention, according to the European history books, became known as the First Continental, and George Washington was elected chairman of the convention. In Masonic terms, he became the Grand Master. Two of the main issues in this meeting, which was discussed and debated, were, number one, how were the 13 colonies going to form a united front against King George of England, which was up in New York? Number two, here's where I'm going with this. How were the 13 colonies going to justify the institution of perpetual slavery of the Moorish inhabitants and population, where were European nations with such names as Indian. They made that up. I told you that before. Negroes, blacks, colored, and etc. Now, issue number 1 was to form a united front against King George of England. The 13 colonies voted to draw up a treaty between themselves because the 13 colonies were actually 13 separate nations or countries at the point at that point in time. This treaty or document became known as Articles of Confederation in your history books. See, these people are full of a little bit more. And this had solved issue number 1. Here we go with issue number 2. We're talking about nationality, Beverly.
Mm-hmm.
Issue number 2, which the delegates debated at the convention, was to justify they wanted to enslave the Moorish population. The 13 colonies agreed to strip the Moors of their nationality and their birthrights, which was an act of European psychology. I think we talked about that.
Right.
The European colonies gave the Moorish population the slave names or the slave marks of Negro, blacks, colored, Ethiopian, Indian, and that type of thing. And the European colonists defined those slave marks as something inferior to the name white. The European colonies defined white as a color of purity and defined black as representing everything evil. White and black was also used in the legal status, and I'll explain that in a minute. White meant that you were a citizen, and black meant you were not a citizen. When the Moorish population accepted the inferior slave marks of nationality of Negro, black, colored, etc., the Moorish inhabitants cut themselves off from their elusive history of their forefathers, whom were the founders of the first civilization of the earth. The Moorish forefathers did not form the slave marks of Negroes, colored, and black. The inferior names or identities marked the Moors as inferior class of being whom had been subjected to slavery. The marks or slave names would forever disqualify and rob Moors from their free person citizenship in the true sense of meaning in which the term free person is used in the Articles of Association and the Articles of Confederation and the Declaration of Independence, the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, and the present-day Constitution of the United States. So when they talked about free persons, they were talking about black people. The strategy of this plan or conspiracy of the Europeans, which they used, is as follows. If the Moors were ever emancipated or set free in the future, the Moors would remain subjected or dominant by the European race, whom had solely authorized, who had the sole authority in the classifying system via race, and race was incorrectly being distinguished as colors such as black race and white race. Mm-hmm. So they set this up way back, and they took a blood oath that they would continue this, or they would kill anyone that betrayed the secret. And this information only came out in the late 1940s, late 40s, 46 and 47, that they this information started coming out. So you see that they took all of our inheritance or our heritage and took it away from us. And we are suffering from, and all it is a state of mind. The nationality is a state of mind. A lot of people are asking me, how do I get my papers to become free? You don't need papers to become free. You need a free mind as to who you are. And if you don't work on the mind, no paper is going to help you, because nobody really cares. See, when you were born, nobody asked you or fill out papers that you wanted to be black, colored, or whatever. The European put that on you when you were born. They had a little box set up, and they checked it that you was a Negro, or your mama was a Negro, or your daddy was a European. All of that was checked, coming from 1774. We need to look at this thing as serious as it is and stop letting those Negro pundits get on the news and that yang or them jackleg-ass preachers get out there and try to be politicians telling you what's best for you. That's the mentality of 1920s when Booker T. Washington came up with that talented 10th, who said that the talented 10th could tell the Europeans what the masses of black people wanted. And they're still using that concept today. That's why you have those Negro pundits and those civil rights all-stars. Anyone out there that's ever flew in an airplane? I know you have, Bev.
Yeah.
How much time do you think it took you to get reservations to fly wherever you went? How long you think it took?
It didn't take that long.
Go ahead.
I did it over the internet.
All right. Did you do it to fly in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, or 3 months, or fly the next day?
No, it wasn't the next day. It was more like a week or two.
All right. That's good enough. So I'll ask you, how is it that Al Sharpton can be on TV in New York today and a riot break out tonight in Tupelo, Mississippi, and that nigga be there in the morning?
Because he got his own private plane. They come
he
get
ain't on
him.
somebody's payroll.
Right. They come get him.
Say what?
They have to come get him.
You're right. Yes, but have you ever listened to a show and listened to them people that call in? Reverend Al, I don't know what I'd do without you. I said to myself, do you realize what you're saying? Reverend Al, you the only one that tell it like it is. Hot though, mighty no. Look at all the work we got to do.
But they don't, because they don't know. We haven't been taught, so.
That's true. Okay, I agree with you. But my point is, in bringing that up, look at the work we got to do to get to those people to wake them up.
And that's what you're doing. You're waking them up.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. But you know what my position is? You can take it or leave it. I'm not going to argue with you about what I do and don't do. You know what I mean?
We got a couple of callers. Do you want to take them now? They've been holding on.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Area
After
code
this, we'll take a break.
Okay. Area code 804-836. 804, are you there?
Yeah.
Peace. Did you want to, peace?
Yes, hello.
Yeah, how you doing? Big up to you, WD, and all your efforts in your show, everything you're doing. Big Elder Ramesh L. Bay, big up to you as well. Had a quick question on the accept for value. As far as when you sign in the documents, if you don't sign it with the all rights reserved without prejudice, if you do not sign it like that, can you still accept for value?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. See, when you want something for yourself, it doesn't matter what you do as long as you get it. But when you want something that someone else is going to use, now notice you're accepting for value to pay off whatever it is. So that's enough right there to make them angry because you're going to accept it for value because you have knowledge of HJR 192.
Right.
You dig it? But when you're buying a refrigerator or a car or something like that, that's a whole different ball game, brother.
Right.
You dig it?
Yes, sir. And it comes down to the promissory note.
When you create the promissory note, they can cash it and then make you make payments. That's the trick right there. They cash your promissory note, and then I tell you what you do. The next time you write a check from your checking account, right on the bottom when you sign your name, put that right at the bottom, put down there, all rights reserved, and watch them send that check back to you and say, we can't use this check.
Right, because that way they can't offset like they want to as far as the internal auditing.
That's right. That's right. And I'll tell you something else. It sounds like you don't know this. Get a microscope, a magnifying glass, not a microscope, magnifying glass.
The fine print on the signature line?
Yes.
Right.
It's a sentence. You give them the right to go in your account.
Right.
Why would they do that?
Right.
So if you're going to put up under that line, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, if you're going to put under that line, all rights reserved, that cancels out that line that they're going in your account.
Right.
You dig it?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So, yeah,
anything else?
Like, I'm about to, like, I'm literally about to buy a car tomorrow. So, you know, I ain't want to freak them out with the all rights reserved when I'm not in a position to get the car. But I'm gonna make the first payment. I'm gonna make the first payment.
Are you buying it or leasing it?
No, I'm buying it now.
Or are you getting it on credit?
Yeah,
are you getting it on credit or are you paying cash?
Yeah, they're using my credit. They're using my credit. I'll be using my credit to get the car.
All right.
You know,
it sounds like you need the car. So it sounds like you need the car. So if you go in there being a smart aleck, they're going to say, no, we ain't going to give it to you. Right. But what you should do is go in and sign it and then get the car. And then when you email me. I'll tell you what to do.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, no, I'm going to send the first note. I'm going to send the first payment to him. After that, though, it's going to go down after that. So.
All right.
I appreciate your time, man. Again, salute to you, the lovely Beverly D. and Big Elder Romach L. Bay. Salute to you as well, man. I love your efforts, your work. It's beautiful, man. We just got to wake up.
Yes, we're working on it, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Yes, and we salute you for listening and taking action, and thank you.
Oh, yeah, I listen to every show. Y'all hold it down. Be the beautiful God and goddess you are. Salute.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Peace.
Let's take one more, and then we'll take a break, man.
Okay, we're going to see Det Shepherd. Are you there, Det Shepherd? Det Shepherd. Okay. We'll have to come back to you. Let's take this one more. Wait a minute. Okay, they just went off. We'll get them on the other side when we come back.
All right. Okay, good enough.
Okay.
All right. Let's take a 10-minute break. I'll be back.
And Rob, when you get ready to come back, when you sit down, I can see you, so I know you're ready. Okay.
That'll work.
Thank you.
All right, Bev. Yep.
We'll be back in 10 minutes.
And Bev, are you there?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Right. Yep.
Okay. We have a couple of calls here before you get started.
Okay. I'm ready. Go ahead.
Okay. Det Shepherd. Are you there, Det Shepherd?
Yeah, this is Greg calling from Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, all right.
Yes, Greg.
Thank you so much for sharing what you talked about earlier about how we sign and who we are, and I just want to share a personal story. This happened within the last couple of weeks. I happen to be in the finance business. I work in the banking industry, and I've been doing that for about 6 years. Yeah, it's beautiful. I tuned into your show. I've never heard it, and I'm like, wow, this guy's talking about this very specific thing. And I'll just share a quick story. I wanted to borrow a very tiny sum of money. I had the cash in the bank. I simply didn't want to spend it, so I said, I'll just borrow it from the bank, a 6-month note, whatever. So they drew up the papers. This is less than $10,000. It's just chicken feed to the bank. And what I did was I printed my name on the signature line, and next to it I wrote "without prejudice." Now, what happened was, about 2 days later, our operations manager, who is a very nice person, he's not an evil person, he just simply said, hey, look, I got a call from corporate, and they don't like the way you submitted your paperwork. And I said, well, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Are they unhappy with the fact that I printed my name or the fact that I wrote "without prejudice"? And he said, they're not happy that you printed your name. So I said, okay. If I sign my name in cursive, C-U-R-S-E, cursive, but keep without prejudice on there, will it be okay? And he said, I think it'll be okay. Well, I had some other stuff going on with family and whatnot, and I wasn't in a hurry to borrow this money or actually create the money with the bank, so I waited. And then a couple of days later, he came back, very nice, and he said, they emailed me and they said they don't like the way you submitted your paperwork. They want you to just sign your name with no printing and no without prejudice. And I said, I don't really need that bad. I don't want to create a stink. I'm not here to create. I wasn't there to create any division. This is where I make my living. This is how I feed my family. So no hard feelings.
Yep.
He said, cool, no big deal. Well, my boss came back. My division, department head said, and he grinned, and he knows how I am. He said, man, you've created a kind of a stink here. They're up in arms. They don't know what to think. The president of the bank had to call the attorney, and you said it in your show earlier. They needed to call people to know what this means. And there was one particular what it meant, and he was okay with it. But the particular person creating the note was not happy with it. So this is what I came to understand. When you don't know beautifully, when you don't know who you are, and then maybe you suddenly become aware of who you are, and you let these people in the system know that they don't like it, it scares them, and it doesn't mean that they're evil or that they're at the top of the food chain, so to speak. They're just not used to dealing with this, and they reject it outright.
Yes,
so
that's beautiful.
Yeah, I said, no harm, no foul, it's okay. So what my wife and I did was we went and we created the money at her bank because she's a banker too. And we had the money within 24 hours. The note creates the money. We signed the note, and the bank knows that once you sign the note, then they deposit the note, and that's what the money really is. The bank didn't give us something they had and we didn't have. Now, you may say, Greg, you're a banker. Why would you do this? It's because I wanted the convenience of not spending my cash and simply creating the money and then just making that go away in 6 months. So when you talked about that, I was just like, wow. And here's the thing. You know this? 99% of the population doesn't know about that.
That's right.
It doesn't mean we're smarter than they are, but all it means is these people that are in control, they're not in power, they're just in control. They know this.
Yes.
And somebody
Yes.
They go, whoa, no, we're going to shut you down. That's what they do.
and they're afraid of their jobs and positions. That's beautiful, Greg.
Yeah.
That happened to my son. He bought an automobile and signed it. It took him about 4 to 6 weeks for them to call him and tell him to bring the car back because there was a problem. And I told him not to do it because he already had the car. And and they kept hounding him, and he finally took it back. They gave him a different car as if they were doing him a favor, but they made it clear, do not reserve your rights on the new contract. And he didn't do it.
And the thing is, I'm not an expert on this by any stretch, but my understanding about without prejudice, it's just a different expression of what you said, which is really the same thing, is if I sign my name, whether I print it or put it in cursive, it doesn't really matter. What I'm saying to these people that create money out of nothing is, look, I'm gonna do this with you. I'm gonna create the money. And you're telling them, I understand how the game really works. And what I'm telling you when I write without prejudice or whatever you write on there is that if it's not in this document, I am not on board. I have not signed up for the ride, including or anything else that are connected to you as a corporation.
Yes. That's what it's about. And see, when you go into a corporation like a bank, they have certain rules in the bank system that you as a customer or a client have no inclination what it is. Yeah. So when you sign without prejudice, it stops them from doing whatever's on their books that they've been doing for years. The banks cannot lend credit. They cannot lend credit. There's no money in the banks. They can only take the interest of of. I'm not sure how they get their money, but when you go in, and as you did, Greg, you were borrowing your own money. That's what that amounted to. You created the credit, and the only reason you got that money was because your credit report stated that you were qualified to pay back that amount.
That's right.
It's been working, but people are waking up, and like you say, they get nervous when they challenge it, and all you're doing is, like you said, you got to live, and that's your job and your income. You're not there to make a fight, but you learn some certain things, and right on, brother. That's all I can tell you. Right on.
And the thing I'll tell people is this: is you may hear some things such as what we just spoke of, and it's easy to go, man, all these people are evil. I have news for you. I've been in the lending business for 14 years. 99.9% of the people in the business have no clue what we're talking about. They're not evil people.
That's right.
Your banker, your loan officer, they love their families, they're paying their bills, and they're not there to cheat you. And I'll go back to another thing that you talked about, and I think this is even more powerful part of what you're teaching today is on the third page of a loan application, if we're talking about a mortgage, which happens to be my specialty, okay, there's a part at the bottom of the government monitoring section, and it asks you what your ethnicity is, not Hispanic or Latino, African American, Native, there's some options there, but then there's an option that says, I do not wish to provide this information. Now, you can do that, but here's the rub. The government tells the loan officer or the banker, if you physically meet this person, it doesn't matter if they check I do not wish. You must make a decision based on your
check it what it is.
Flesh. And
wow.
That's scary stuff. And I've been doing this I had one recently, and I'll give you a real life example. This particular gentleman who came to us, he got a loan, he closed, it was his first house. He was excited. He happened to be from Ethiopia, and he happened to be a man of color. And he was a truck driver. He was a good guy. Met him probably 3 times. Now, on his application, he put in there, for his own personal reason, which is none of my business, I do not wish to disclose my whatever. Fine. But the law and my job says you must tell me, dear banker, if you physically meet this man, what you thought he was. And I had to put on there that he was black or African American. Now, I understand that that's all a bunch of BS, but I was compelled by law, which means they can fire me, so I did it. He'll never know that.
Yes.
It's just a collection of information, and I love what you said. I love what you said about, and I'm going to paraphrase this in a really quick sentence. This is what I'm getting from what you're teaching, and I love what you're teaching. The vibe is so amazing. Here's what I feel. If I don't know who I really am, there are many in control, not power, just control. There's a difference. Who will be more than glad to define for me who I am.
Yes.
Here's the rub.
Yes, Greg. Yes.
They will be more than glad to sell me any facade of who I might mistakenly think I am or who I mistakenly think I should be. And guess what? They'll take monthly payments for as many years as you want to give them to them.
Yes. And everybody will go home happy every night. Greg, I appreciate you.
That was an excellent call. Excellent call.
Come back. Be sure and come back next week.
Absolutely.
Don't leave us tonight. We got a couple more minutes.
Thank you.
All right?
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Wow.
We have another caller, area code 212-980.
Hello?
Yes, we here.
Yes.
How are you, Beverly? How are you, March?
Great.
I listen every week. I love the show. Calling from Harlem, New York, and I had a question that's a little bit off topic. 2 questions for you, Ron, and 1 for Beverly, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
All right.
Ron, it's off topic, like I said, but I was a little confused, and you've gone over it several times, but I just don't get the connection. I was hoping you could simplify it for me. It said you always say Britain was in New York before England, and I'm trying to figure out how is that.
1776 was the founding of the United States. If you go to Britain or any foreign country and ask them when were they founded, they were all founded after 1776. And the reason they were founded after that, because this was the old world and Europe over there was the new world. They flipped the script to confuse everybody and write this madness of their history in order to get them into the books and do what they do and say what they say. England was in the New York area in the beginning. France and Spain was in Florida and the North and the Carolinas. France was up near Carolinas and down in Pennsylvania area and down and around and back up. And then Spain was all the way at the bottom across Louisiana and all the way up. So, and then if you get one of those old maps, you're going to see countries all over United States that are now in other areas. The War of 1812. Go ahead.
I was just
the War of 1812 ran all the flags, unidentified flags or undesirable flags. They ran them off the continent of this continent, and they went over and established what they want to establish over there. Okay. Now the time element is going to be confusing because they using different calendars in order to, and I don't want to get into that because I'm not that tight on that stuff. But these calendars they have, they are adding time to them and taking time away. We're on a certain calendar in the United States, and so-called America around the world that deals with us has to use our calendars, but some other places use different calendars and for different things. There was a 521-year history placed into the Moorish history by the Europeans in order for them to create a history for them.
Got you. Smokey, I got you. My next question for you, Ron, was this weekend. My mother lives in New Jersey, and she was coming over to visit me in New York, and she parked her car in a parking lot. She didn't read the sign, and they towed it. And when she got back, she couldn't find her car. She thought it was stolen, and she called around and found out that this tow truck company had it, and they told her they were going to charge her $250 a day. And they don't open up again until Monday, which was this Monday's, and that was on a Friday. So she ended up paying like $750 to get her car back. And I told her, I don't think that was legal. So I just wanted to know, is that legal or not?
All right, first of all, no, it's not legal what they did. But number two, you need to get the specifics. Where did she park and what did the sign say?
Yeah, the sign said no parking, and she the last time she went to my house, came over to visit me, that business wasn't there. That was a lot that was owned by another company, and they had no signs up. So she just assumed that it was the same, but that business was sold to another company, and their sign said something to the effect of "Park here, Joan Visk, you will be towed."
Yes. Okay. Number three. The precinct that's in the area, did your mother go and report a stolen vehicle?
No, she didn't report anything stolen. I think what she did was, first she called to see if her car, was in a tow shop, and I guess when she read the sign, she called the tow company instead of the police.
Okay. Well, she needs to go to the police department and see if there was a report for that day and time to move that automobile. They don't have a right to move an automobile because they put a sign up. Who the hell they think they are? They have to have a court order to take private property. You dig it?
Okay.
So
I got you.
If they have a contract with, and I'm trying to think, if the people that own the lot has a contract with the tow truck company, that has nothing to do with your mama. Your mama wasn't in on that contract.
And the messed up thing is that's kind of what I was explaining to her, but I have an uncle who's a cop in Jersey, and, he pretty much reprimanded her and told her that, she had to pay and all this. And I was like, don't listen to him, but, she whatever the law says that she's going with. And I told her this just didn't sound right because you had no contract with for anyone over there to take anything from you, you know. The building used to be owned by the Board of Education, so I guess anyone could park there then, but then a private company bought the school, and now they're making it into a factory or whatever.
Correct. It doesn't matter. A private company has nothing to do with you or your mama or any citizen. And when they set up contracts to tow stuff away, that's their problem. That's not your problem. So you have a stolen vehicle. That's a carjacking you had. And you should go to the tow truck company. You ain't got to tell your mama. Go to the tow truck company and just tell them very friendly, I went to the precinct and they didn't have any report that you were going to take that automobile. It was not your property, and you took it. Now, when they look it up, now don't argue with that first person you talk to, because they just don't get out. You're going to have to ask, is the owner around of the tow truck company? I'd like to speak with him. Maybe I should come back. I want to make an appointment to see the owner. And you need to tell that owner that he has a major problem here. My mom came out, and boy, it would have been wonderful had you taken her to the hospital because she had a nervous breakdown that her car was
she almost did.
Peeled or something. Yeah.
She had to pay the $750. That was just last weekend.
It almost made it last weekend. Well, maybe wherever she is, tell her to go see a doctor and tell her she's still shook up behind.
Oh, okay. So she has a suit. I got you. You're a genius, brother. You're a genius, man.
This information is for educational purposes only.
Yeah, I wish I could get her to listen, but, you know, she thinks everything I listen to is just that revolutionary stuff.
Listen to me. I am not an attorney. I have no knowledge of law. I'm just talking on educational purposes only.
I got you.
You need to sit down and deal with it. And you may be able to deal with it and go around Mama because they had no business doing what they did. Anytime they pull an automobile, there must be a number given to them by the police department of that precinct. They have to go to the precinct and say, I'm going to pull this car at this address between 1 and 4 o'clock. And they will give them an okay to do it and send a paddy wagon in the area just in case there's some gunfighting or somebody gets shot for stealing the car.
I got you.
Most of them don't do it because y'all don't know that to check on that.
Absolutely.
They stole that automobile, and you can get them. You got to take my email address and send me.
Oh yeah, you send me your email blast all the time. So I'll send you something to let you know it's me.
Yeah, bring me up.
My last question was for Bev.
All right, go ahead, Bev. Yep.
I just want to know, Bev, when's the next time you're going to have Mr. Robert X on? I wanted to hear what he had to say about ISIS, Ferguson, and Ebola. Get the articles so we could make it official.
He'll be on this Sunday and Monday.
Oh, beautiful. All right. Well, that's all I needed to hear, guys.
At 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you very much, both of you. And I really commend you for the work you do.
Thank you for listening.
All right. Thanks for listening. Yep.
Ryan, we have some more callers.
Get them.
Let's see. Let's do area code 347-319. 347-319. Okay. I'm going to go to 301-403. 301 area code?
Yes. Well, I was talking about what I was talking about is what Ron was talking about earlier about how the country is divided into two. Well, Spain and France, they divide because when Spain came over and invaded us, and France they came over, they came divided one side and the other one divided the other side. And then they also, with that, they got a contract with the Chinese right now, and people don't know about it. And the thing is, like verbs we use, verbs, object, pronouns, all this stuff we use are words that we don't even know the meaning of. So it's like they reuse the definition of the word you think the meaning of it, and it's really not the word you think the meaning of it. Just like a pronoun could be pronoun, okay, with void of known fact and truth as a hearsay condition, which y'all talking about to young brother, with voiding of any contract with our tradition. You know, see, it's like, you know, they play words as magic. So
yes.
And
that's why they call spelling spell. That's why they call that spelling.
Yeah, and you know, and so just like I'm reading here now, like a noun.
Well, that's part of, brother. That's part of slavery.
Yeah. That's how they came over here.
That's part of slavery.
Yeah, that's how they came over here. You know what I mean? And tricked our mind. They forced it, like you say. They forced it in us. You know what I mean? So bad that we as black people can't even see how.
I don't know what your timetable is, but when you speak of France, he's breaking up quite a bit, man.
Okay.
I hear you. You said when you speak of France.
You ain't clear. We can hear you. I'm going to put you on hold, caller, and then you can hear his response.
Right. Okay.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yep. I was just going to say, he didn't give a timetable on France and Spain coming here, but he's going back to probably 1400, 1200, way back when they did come over, but they came over with the blessing of not only the Queen of England, they came over with the blessing of the Pope.
Yes.
The document of discovery that they had a right to come over here in this hemisphere and steal, loot, rape, take anything they wanted, and anyone that did not believe in Christianity or was against Christianity, they gave them a right in the name of God, or their God anyway, to kill them. So they didn't educate. Those were not the ones that educated us, because most of them knew that the Moors were the heavyweights of the earth. So a lot of them tried to stay away from the Moors when they came over. All of the things that we're suffering from is when they tried to colonize United States or El Morocco and begin to put us in this system. Those are the things that I talk about. Maybe I could call it early history versus later history or something. I don't know. But France, when he speaks of France and Spain, all I can think about is the heirs of Henry Turner when Spain gave the Louisiana Purchase, quote unquote, the neutral strip to Henry Turner, the family of Henry Turner. And that's what we have today. They've been to court all the time, the Moors, and won their case with the Supreme Court that all of that land, approximately 600,000 acres of land, it's a big number, belonged to the Moors. So, you know, what he was running made a lot of sense, but I'm not that familiar with that era of time. Okay? Yep.
Yeah, and also we have someone in the chat room that's telling us that ISIS, you know, the group, which is Israeli Secret Intelligence Service, and that Ebola is connected with the government. Ferguson is connected. All of that is they testing for the martial law. That's what they're saying.
And that reminds me, if you don't have another caller, I got a paragraph that I was looking for, and I found it. I just want to run this.
Go ahead.
And we'll get back. Okay.
Okay.
The chairman of the convention, which was George Washington, summarized the raging debate on how to perpetrate slavery of the Moors with this statement, quote, "If we would agree to take the fezzes and the turbans off the Moors' heads and remove the sandals from their feet and enforce it with severe punishments, and to also swear a death oath between ourselves to religiously and faithfully not to allow anyone to teach the Moorish children whom they really were or who their forefathers were, the only allow the Moorish children to be taught that they were truly Negroes, black people, and colored folks. George Washington stated that 200 years from today, about 300 years now, and the Moorish people would not know, he said 200 years from today, the Moorish people would not know their nationality nor the national name of their forefathers. Also, they would not know from which land or ancestors that they are descendants from. The meeting adjourned with a consensus that would secretly meet again October the 14th, 1774, at the Pennsylvania State House, which later became known as Independence Hall. So I'm saying to you, Bev, from that information that I read today, this was planned hundreds of years ago. Whether it be true or not, we are living it today. You don't have to argue with me about where did you get that, Ron, and I don't believe they did that. All that, I don't even want to hear that. All I want to talk about is our condition today and why no one wants to talk about nationality. Do you know that our leaders, or so-called leaders, y'all's leaders, won't even mention the word nationality? They won't mention the word freedom. You see what I'm saying? They mention rights. We have civil rights. Okay? Europeans don't mention civil rights. Has anyone ever asked why? Because civil rights don't pertain to anyone with a nationality. Because they are registered as human beings. Let's call them that. Human beings. We're not registered as that. We're registered as property of United States of America. You dig it?
Right. And you know what? I'm reading here in the chat room, and that Shepherd that was on a minute ago, he's got a quote in here where the Constitution, the word con is in front of it. Continental, the word con is in front of it. Congress, the word con is in front of it. Continent, the word con is in front of it. So that's good.
Wow.
That is good. That is exactly what is going on. Was
that from Greg? Was that from that guy, Greg?
Yes.
He's on the money.
Yes, and then someone else is saying that, and Greg is also saying that Christopher equals Chris Offer. Christopher Columbus, yes.
Yes.
And someone else is saying that Ebola is not a virus, it's a poison that they're putting out.
Yes. Now, I want to say something. What I just read, Beth, now, think about this for a minute. This is kind of far out there, and I haven't given it research to back it up yet, but it's in my gut. The reason that we're having
Ron?
Africa, the reason we're having problems today is because they do not want us to understand Islam. Now, I know when you mention Islam, Christians, they get an attitude. So I'm not going there. But I'll say this to you, and I know you were Catholic. You mentioned that you were Catholic.
Yeah.
And I was born in a Christian home. And one thing that we have in common as black people is we believe in a creator.
Definitely.
Okay? I don't care what we call this thing called religion. We all believe in a creator. The problem starts when we try and, better yet, when they try and put something between us and the creator. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So you got I don't know that much about Catholicism, but you got old Mary in there somewhere that they worship. And over here with Christianity, you got old Jesus over here they worship. All of these are symbols that were placed between our soul and our creator.
Correct.
Islam, the true meaning of Islam is to submit to your creator. That's it. All of this chopping off heads and killing women and all that garbage that they put in the papers, it has nothing to do with us. But now that we're fighting for our freedom, go back to what I just read. They took a blood oath that they would never let us get back to our true nationality. So they got to do things. Now, we got a lot of people out there, even that Greg that called in. Let me just call him, in all positive sincerity, a white boy. He sounded like he was white, and I'm just going to go with that. Nothing negative about it.
But you can't go on that, too. But we got some of us that sound that same way.
Well, it doesn't matter. Here's my point. Here's the only reason I'm saying that.
He say he is white.
Okay. And I'm not saying it on a negative note. Greg, I'm telling you that you're waking up, and that scares the hell out of them. You and I are not enemies. You came in and told exactly what I've been trying to tell the people. You're suffering just as much as I suffer. So the point is that the system, these Europeans that run this thing, these people that have power, and they may be black, it may be white, we don't know. But those international bankers that run all this trash have a major problem because people are waking up. And we need to understand that and understand that they're doing everything they can. They're even talking now about banning all trips, airplanes that come out of Africa. I heard them talk about it on a red right-wing station today. And then they got the nerve to say, well, you're not. Obama won't play ball. He won't do what we say.
Wait, Ron. Hold on. We have like 3 minutes left of the show. So for those, you can call in at 347-215-8041, and you will still be able to hear us over the phone. Okay, go ahead, Ron.
Okay. All right. They are talking about Obama now that he does not want to negotiate. I've heard Obama stand up and say, whatever you Republicans want, bring it to the table. Let's talk about it. They said, go to hell, we going fishing. We don't want to talk to you, Blackie. We through with you. They had the same meeting in 208 that George Washington had in 1774. And they vowed at that time that not to go along with him. And they took a blood oath, never to agree with him. Now, they in his butt talking about he don't want to negotiate. He acts like a dictator. Yes, you forced him in the corner. What else can he do? He asked you to bring your thoughts. I remember when they was pushing that Obamacare. Everybody was screaming. So he said, okay, here's what we'll do. You bring your ideas in, and I got mine already on the table. Let's negotiate. Do you think they brought him in? No. Did you know, Beverly, that Obama's opponent in the first presidential race came out of Massachusetts, and he had Obamacare in place for about 6 years prior to Obama?
Yeah, I heard that.
And nobody's saying anything about that? Now, all of a sudden, it's the worst thing that ever came on the face of the earth. So our brothers said the right thing. Not only do they have a forked tongue, they're a bunch of liars and a bunch of cheats and a bunch of crooks. So, hey, I don't know what to tell you other than get your head on right, study, understand what's happening, and do what your heart tells you to do. And all you got to do is follow the Constitution, read it, and then read HJR 192 because everybody's in debt. HJR 192 come out of 1933, and it tells you exactly that the government will pay your bills. What else can I tell you? Value is right. What else can I say?
Oh my!
And like Greg said, most of the people on the first, second, and third echelon of these businesses have no idea what I'm talking about. So don't even argue with them. Ask them to bring the manager out. If he's an idiot, say, I know you work for somebody. Do you own this place? No. Send me somebody else out here because you're the biggest idiot I ever talked to. And they hire them for that reason. They fill up the front line with, I hate to say it, well, idiots. They do it as a reason. Now, it's not a sin to be an idiot. That means you don't know. Okay? If the people knew that Greg knew what he knew, Greg would not be working there. And I hope nobody heard it because he used his name. I hope he used a false name. He may be in trouble when he go back to work next week. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
That's how ruthless they are. So, Greg, don't be calling in running that good stuff the way you do, because you jeopardizing your family and stuff. So just chill out. You can call in. Try to talk black when you call in. Hey, brother, what's happening? Something like that. They will come after you. Ku Klux Klan was set up for people like you. That boss that said he was a good guy, he'll put a sheet on and beat the crap out of you, and then come in the next day and say he didn't know what happened. That's what it's all about. Oh, boy.
Well, Ron, we got a couple of callers. We can take those before we leave.
Yeah.
Okay. Area code 773-396.
Hi, Beth. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we hear you.
Hello, Beth.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hi,
Hello.
Ron. Can you hear me okay, Ron?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. I was just keeping you abreast. I mentioned last week in regards to my tickets. Well, Ron, I called about my court date, and they told me, they said, well, we sent something out for your court date. You should have that by now. And I said, well, I have not received anything. I called for that court date for that ticket in regards to that stop for a speeding ticket. I had to call for a court date. And I got all my documents and papers in order, just as you stated. And the part that was just really, really weird was that they said they sent something out, but I have not received anything, Ron. And I do believe it's because I refused the contract with you, and I reserve my rights. I don't know what's going to happen, but my initial question is this. Once I have my court date with all of my papers, is there anything in particular that I say? Because I think it's set for November 10th.
No. You just go in with your court papers, and when they listen to what they say, remember that the judge is not there to give you legal advice. They cannot practice law from the bench. That's number one. Number two, the police officer that shows up, if he shows up, he can only show up as a witness, not as a first. Who is he representing? He's representing the state of wherever you're from. In other words, why would a police officer write a ticket? He's got to say, because it was a city ordinance. You violated a city ordinance. Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
I'm asking you, is that correct?
Because that's correct.
Okay, so then
okay, go ahead.
Then you need to ask the court, I need to talk to the city. You don't need to talk to the police officer. He's a witness. He's not a official, what they call the holder of due course or first-hand knowledge. You want to know, where did that ordinance come from? So the city has to show up. If he's representing the city, then you want somebody for the city to come in, put them, and make them swear in. Now, they're not going to let you get that far, but you need to know that type of information because they're going to try and snowball you when you get in there.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Oh, yeah. I know that you mentioned that before. Okay, go in there with all of my paperwork and expect to face my accuser.
Yes. So when the judge asks the lawyer questions, be careful how he asks the question, because you say, wait a minute, Your Honor, are you practicing law from the bench? Let him testify. Now, he will never swear in. That's the part that's a hang-up. They're going to want you to swear in, but they don't want him to swear in. So you want to ask the court, why is that? I didn't see him. I did not witness him swearing in. So anything he says in this court is hearsay. You got to remember that.
If I swear in, I should expect to swear in.
Yes, they're going to make you swear in. And if he's going to accuse you of make a violation, then you want him to swear in and you want to cross-examine him.
Okay.
Of the conditions. I don't know what the ticket was for. You see what I'm saying?
It was a speeding ticket. But here's the thing, Ron. The police officer was coming opposite direction, saw me, swerved around, walked up to me and asked for information, license and registration. I hand him reluctantly my license and the insurance information, and I didn't think at the moment because, Ron, he did not identify who he was, first and foremost. So he hands me this offer. I said, I refuse, and then he went on and on and on and on. So the initial thing is this, Ron. The initial thing is this. I challenged that ticket just as you stated. I have not had a court date yet in the mail. Called in. Now I have the court date because they told me what day it was. Okay? So going in there with all my paperwork.
Let me
go ahead.
Yep. Let me tell you why you didn't get it in the mail. Because they can't put out a warrant for your arrest until you're in default. So they never tell you about the first court date. They only wait, and the ticket will double because you're in default since you didn't show up for the first one.
Wow, trying to make me miss it, huh?
Yes.
Son of a gun.
Now, I can tell you this. When you go down there for that first one, I bet you 9 out of 10 times the cop ain't going to be there because you ain't supposed to show up.
I got a strange feeling he won't either, Ron.
I'm telling you. So you might as well go down there. Now, what date did they say it was?
They said November 10th.
Okay. And we're in... Okay, you got time. We're in October. You got time to write. I tell you what, email me and I'll give you some more information. But meanwhile, look up.
Go ahead.
What? Meanwhile, look up special invitation appearance. Special invitation appearance. Google that.
Special invitation appearance.
Yes.
Beverly, Ron, you guys, I swear to God. You know what, Ron? You need to be the freaking president, I swear. And you know what? As far as you, Beverly, I told you, you need to be here in Chicago where Oprah was because we need some real people here.
Don't you know? Listen, do you remember Martha Mitchell? Does that name ring a bell with you?
Not offhand, no.
All right. Martha Mitchell was back married to John Mitchell, who was part of the Watergate that was cheating and stealing. Now does it ring a bell? Do you remember Watergate?
She might be too young, Ron.
No. I remember. Now it was in the '60s or the early '70s, but I'm up on politics. So go ahead.
All right. Martha was so mad at John because she wanted a divorce from his punk butt. She told him that she would come in and testify against him of the crap that he was doing. She got on the plane from Pennsylvania to come in Chicago to testify, and the plane fell out of the air. Listen.
Wow.
I can only laugh, but I don't want to start crying. They killed all them people to stop her from testifying against Richard Nixon and Watergate. So you telling me to come in Chicago, the biggest crooked state in the Union?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that it would definitely be a refreshing thing knowing that we got truth to power right where we really, really need it. Now, the only thing I'm just giving you accolades, Ron, because if it ain't for you and Robert X, man, I really don't know where I'd be. And I'm going to tell you something. The class that I'm taking right now for construction, I swear that my class calls me a conspiracy theorist, and when I start spitting the stuff where I'm getting my stuff from, the teacher ain't never heard of a straw man, but that's a whole other story. Ron, the teacher has never heard of a straw man. The teacher hasn't.
That's right.
But that's a whole other argument to it. I'm not about to get into that. I'm just going to stay true to what I have to do. So, okay, I'm going to email you and wait for that information. And I thank you, Ron and Beverly. Thank you so much, Beverly. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And Robert X will be on this Sunday and Monday.
I'm going to text him as soon as I'm done with you guys and tell him I cannot wait to hear his voice. I miss him.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You think I'm going to come in? They killed the first, Washington was the first black mayor they had. They killed him eating apple pie.
Right. But I mean, you're already in Chicago, so they can hear you over the airway.
I know.
We have another caller, 804-836. 804-836.
Yes, peace to you, Beverly, once again. I called in earlier.
Peace to you.
Following up on a different question. And I know it's not necessarily the forum for it, but just understanding everything that went down from the Continental Congress to where we are now, Big Ron Martell Bay, what Moors were complicit in the plight of establishing the United States of America? Obviously, there had to be some agents out there. I mean, what do we?
Yeah,
I know
man.
I know it's not the forum for it, but on a superficial level.
No, that's okay. That's okay. The questions got to come up. Now, I'm going to tell you, man, and I don't. Let me say it. Let me think for a minute how I can say this. You had a dividing line called the Allegheny Mountains. Look up the Royal. Look this up. The Royal Proclamation Line. The Royal Proclamation Line of 1663. The King of England, which was in New York, said that any European that crossed that Alleghenies, he's gonna be shot. Stay on the east side of the Alleghenies, where there were blacks and Moors that was on the east side. We have always fought against each other. I read where the European was created for the sole purpose of keeping us from fighting each other. I don't know how to say that to you in any other way, but I'm laying it on you. Elijah Muhammad said, if you study who you are as an individual, you'll have to tie a string around your finger to remind you that the European is here, because he knows that your knowledge is so powerful that it sets up a radiation type zone, and he can't come in that zone. So now you take that and do with it what you want. Them people that was on that other side was on a different go-round. Now, let me hang something else on you. If you look up George Washington's letter, Google this, George Washington's letter to the Sultan, the Moorish Sultan, Sultan. I got that letter. He told the Europeans, asked the Sultan, first of all, they apologized because they didn't have money to pay him for letting them come on our land. But I'm going to pay you because we just formed a new government. All of this is in the letter, signed by George Washington. I ain't making this up. Right. He asked the Sultan, we need some subjects, some slaves to help us build this dynasty so we can pay you. You know what the Sultan told him? Take them Moors on the other side of the Allegheny because they ain't worth a shit anyway.
Right. They go right there.
So this was one more telling on the east side, telling the west to go. Don't mess with us. Go mess with the west side.
Yes. Okay. There were plenty of wars between the nations. See, I go back to Granny. Your grandma, if you had a fight, I don't know how old you are, but if you had a granny, I'm 73. My granny, if there was a fight between me and somebody, Granny would solve that fight by going to the family and telling them yes, no, or maybe so. Yeah. That's the same way it was back in the day. There was no killing, murdering, and that type of thing. Granny stopped all of that kind of stuff. Now, there were fights. There was disagreements. There was stealing and looting and stuff like that. But as far as murder, it didn't start till the Europeans came over here. So I'm saying all that to say to you, I'm not trying to make excuses, but we were fighting each other as nations of people. And there were hundreds of thousands of nations living in El Morocco.
Right.
When you see the word Articles of Confederation, Europeans try to act like that's what he came up with. No, he didn't. Yeah. We had Articles of Confederation because the Iroquois, if you read the Constitution of the Iroquois, it'll tell you that they set up these confederations so that they could defend themselves with more than one nation of quote-unquote Indians in order to fight off them other ones that kept starting some crap.
Right.
You
Just like Kemet, where like the Hyksos were melanated too. When we was in Kemet, Nubia, Punt, whatever you want to call it, we were fighting the Hyksos. They were melanated people too, the same right.
Yes. So you take it from there. Do some research, and then you ask yourself the question, and you'll get an answer. I'm not going to give you my answer because there's some good brothers over there, very intelligent, very enlightened on the Maori's history. But something is. Forget that. I'm through talking to you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, caller. Thank you.
Thank you,
I don't want to go no further.
No, you can't go too far.
All right.
Have a great one.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. Till next week. Well, Ron, we are past our time, and as always, I appreciate you. And we shall return next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.